How are you feeling? How long have you been here?
3 months, May 17th.
And what brought you?
That's difficult to answer.
Eventually resulted in your being here in the hospital.
That's difficult to answer.
the end. There's a noise inside my head of crying people facing death. Is this the end? Is this the end?
Der Mensch ein Mensch ist, drum braucht er was zum Essen, bitte sehr. Es macht ihn ein Geschwätz nicht satt, das schafft kein Essen her.
Drum links, zwei, drei, drum links, zwei, drei, wo dein Platz genossen ist, weil ich heim in die Arbeit einheimst komm, weil du auch ein Arbeiter bist.
Und weil der Mensch ein Mensch ist, drum hat der Stiefel im Gesicht nicht gern. Er will unter sich keinen Sklaven sehen und über sich keinen Herrn.
Drum links, zwei, drei, drum links, zwei, drei, wo dein Platz genossen ist, weil ich heim in die Arbeiter einheimst komm, weil du auch ein Arbeiter bist.
Und weil der Prolet ein Prolet ist, drum wird ihn kein anderer befreien. Es kann die Befreiung der Arbeiter nur das Werk der Arbeiter sein.
Drum links, zwei, drei, drum links, zwei, drei, und ein Platz genossen ist, weil ich heim in die Arbeiter einheimst komm, weil du auch ein Arbeiter bist.
Who the fuck is Karlyn? She's just some sweet lady. She's like in a knitting. She does like a knitting stream. She's like a knitting YouTuber. She does knitting.
Yeah, she's been doing a lot of knitting today. I'll tell you what, she's been doing a lot of knitting today. Actually, not even as much knitting as I would have thought. Man! Listen. If you guys missed the spy stream that we have been doing into the Radical Revolutionary Socialist Conference that's going on this weekend, we have just had one of the most epic spy stream infiltration days in the history of spy stream, and I've been doing spy stream for like 4 years, and that's the reason I had to start late tonight. Is the conference was just running late, and so I'm on their schedule, man. I'm sorry, they took priority over Socialism Saturday because it was literally the most epic single day spy stream ever in the entire history of spy stream. It was like, I can't, like, they started off the first presentation and they said everything. They, like, by the time the first speaker was done, I already had enough clips to last, for probably a week. And then it just kept going and going and going. We watched Socialism for the last 6 straight hours, and it was fucking amazing. And I sat there and enthralled the whole time. I was pissed off when I had to get up and go to the bathroom because I was like, I'm gonna miss this. Because you just didn't know what they were going to say. It was just person after person after person after person. I feel like I just had sex for 6 hours. That's what we're talking about. That is the level of how amazing this first day was. And let me tell you what, guys, these revolutionary socialists do not like Zoran Mandami at all in any way. They were shitting on Zoran Mandami the entire day. They were shitting on the Democratic Party the entire day. There was a whole presentation at the end where they were shitting on Trump, but we knew that. We knew they were going to shit on Trump, but like the extent to which they shit on the Democratic Party. They called Zoran Mandami a Democrat like multiple times. They said that AOC and Bernie Sanders were traitors. There was just like so much. There was so much good stuff. Let me look at my notes because I took like a metric ton of notes. Let's just do a quick little debrief. Thank you, Nick, for the super chat, member chat. Thank you for being a member of the channel for 35 months. That infiltration was a banger. Speakers were great and upfront on everything. Almost as good as sex, but damn, dude, I need a smoke. Yo, bro, like, I don't even know what to say. I don't even know what to say. It was so good. You know what? I'm not even going to do a debrief with the notes because my page of notes are about 1.5 miles long. And we still have a whole other day to go. So if you missed the spy stream that we did today, don't worry. You can still watch it. It is available. You can hear my dog. My dog missed the spy stream. He's barking right now with something. Probably my husband coming home. Anyway. If you missed the spy stream today, no. I don't give a fuck. If the audio is staticky, everyone is just going to have to fucking deal with it. I am not redoing yesterday. It is a StreamYard thing. It is not my thing. I don't give a fuck. I don't care how staticky it is. You're going to have to deal with it. I don't know why it's doing this. Anyway, if you missed day 1 of the Socialism Conference, yeah, there's no fucking static. So like, piss off. If you missed day 1, you can still watch it on demand. Now, Spy Stream is open to supporters on my main Substack, on my locals, on my Patreon, my YouTube channel members. So if you're a channel member on YouTube, you get access to Spy Stream. If you are a Twitter subscriber, you also get access to Spy Stream. And you can always watch the spy streams on demand after the fact. You just have to go and find the link. So if you're a member of my Substack, which is the place where I prefer people to be members, if you want to be a member somewhere else, that's fine, but this is my preference. You can find the link to watch the on-demand video, and you can watch it at your leisure. It's 6.5 hours long, so it's a long-ass video. And I'm going to be making clips of it and stuff too, but you can still watch the full thing right now. If you would like to, just go find the link over on my Substack, Karlyn, Karlyn, spy-stream.substack.com. Sign up for a membership, $8 a month, $80 a year. Not only will you get access to this spy stream, you will get access to all future spy streams, to include the one that we are doing tomorrow. Thank you for answering my question from yesterday. I'm very new to you in the deep dives into the commies, and I think you're the best person on the web for this topic. Hey, thank you, Dean Bob. Thank you. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We love new people here. Now, I can be a bit of a bitch, and you should be prepared for that. But I'm in a pretty good mood today, so chances of me yelling at people right now, unless you guys don't meet the super chat goal, the chances of me yelling at people right now is pretty low, because I'm in a really good mood, because that spy stream was amazing. I said, I feel like I just had sex. I feel like I like this is better. This is better. Don't tell my husband that. But it was just such a good day. And so we will be spy streaming tomorrow as well. We will be starting around the same time, 11:30 a.m. in the morning, and we'll be going until they're done, which should be about 6 hours again. And if you guys missed it, day 2 looks just as incredible as day 1. Come join us. It was awesome. Okay? So you get that by supporting my work on Substack. I am 100% independently funded by people just like you. My only job is to show up and show you guys what's going on without any narrative, because I don't have any political masters. I work for you, and my only job is to show you receipts so that you can decide for yourself what you think. And we're going to be doing a lot of clips from that conference. I was making clips in my head like the entire day. I was like building out a whole section of my website in my head where we're going to categorize these clips by what subject they were talking about. It was just so good. It was just so good. Anyway, tonight for Socialism Saturday, we are going to be watching some videos about zines. The reason that I'm interested in zines is zines are a propaganda tool of the left. And one of the things I'm working on at my Center for Left-Wing Studies, which you can check out at leftwingstudies.com, this is my nonprofit research and archival arm, where we are archiving the propaganda of the far left. And so one of the things I'm going to be building out for this is something called the Zine Archive, where I'm trying to bring together all of the massive archives of zines that I have, that other people have, from socialist and communist groups. Zines are just like, they're just handmade, hand-printed, like small batch pamphlets, just things you can print off at your printer. They made them via photocopier back in the day, all that stuff. Zines keep socialists outside of the capitalist system. It's why they use it for everything. And I gotta tell you what, man, in terms of researching this zine stuff, it is a bigger rabbit hole than I ever thought, because I've been working on, I'll bring it up, you can't get to it from the homepage yet, but I'll show you guys. I have been working on a zine directory for the Center for Left-Wing Studies, and one of the things I have found is that almost every college in the country that I have looked at so far has a zine archive in their library. So when I first started building the zine archive, I thought I was going to be going mostly looking at socialist websites and Antifa groups and stuff like that to find all the PDFs of their zines, anarchist websites, things like that. And they do have those, but then I started finding zine collections at colleges and universities around the country. Barnard has a zine collection. This is Brooklyn Library. I need to change that header. Harvard has a zine collection. Brown, DePaul, Lehman College, which is one of the CUNY schools, I think. Bowling Green, University of Iowa, Simmons University, Duke University, Michigan State University, Tufts University, Virginia Commonwealth University, Leslie. Those are just the ones I found so far. Public libraries also have zine archives. In fact, the Library of Congress has its very own leftist zine archive. The Boston Public Library, San Francisco Public Library, New York Public Libraries, Denver has one, Somerville, the Library of Virginia, the DC Public Library. There, like this whole rabbit hole goes so much deeper than I ever thought, and it's incredible, because when you look at the zines tell you what they care about. The zines tell you how they think. The zines will do things. You know what? You can even look at zines. Do I have it on my desk here? I'm pretty sure I do. You can even find zines like this do-it-yourself occupation guide that will teach you how to use a crowbar to open a lock, and how to cut phone lines at a house, and how to take it over and stuff like that. Literally, this is what they write zines about. They teach people how to commit crimes in these things. I'm just saying. So, because zines are a propaganda tool of the far left, is this real, or is this another asshole? If this person is lying to me, you're permanently banned. I'm not even joking. Is the audio crackling or not? 1 in the chat if the audio is cracking, 2 in the chat if the audio is not cracking. You're going to have to deal with it either way. But I want to know the truth, because if this person he's not lying, okay, great. Great. Well, no, there's nothing that can be fucking done about it. No. No. There's nothing that can be done about it. You want to know why? Because it is a StreamYard thing, and it would require me shutting down this entire stream and starting up a new stream. So no, there is literally nothing that can get done about it, and people are just going to have to fucking deal with it. And if people whine and complain, I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. I can't do anything about it. All right? So, see, it's like, no, don't fucking lie. Don't do this. Oh my fucking God. Do not. The good mood that I was in is slowly crashing down. The good mood that I'm in is slowly turning into me wanting to yell and scream. Maybe I'll look at this super chat. Aloha, Donnie girl. Thank you for the super chat. You know, super chats do make me happy. We have a $100 super chat goal on Socialism Saturday. So if you guys want to keep me happy, you guys want to keep me not yelling, meet the goal. And what the fuck did I tell you about whining yesterday? What the fuck did I tell you about whining? I abhor when people do this. I'm just gonna keep quiet and I'm not gonna say anything. You're going in a fucking timeout. Like, I explicitly said not to do that yesterday. I'm slowly feeling the urge to yell. The urge to yell is coming back. The goodness of the whole day, in which there were no problems at all, is fading away. The urge to yell is coming back. Thank you, average person. I appreciate it. God damn. Every fucking time. Every fucking time. Anyway, we're going to get into our show, and people are just going to have to deal with the static, and that's just going to be the way it is. And so we're going to be watching 2 presentations about zines. And the first one is Getting Our Hands into Zine Making, Queer and Trans Health Collective. And then the second one is We're Here, We're Queer, and We're Making Zines. And this is at a university. FIU is a university. This one's about 4 years old. This one's about a year old, but that's all right. That's all right. Anyway, before we get into that, can I have an order of business? I need your guys' help. I need your help. Hang on. All right, I have a person. Okay, well, Stolen Hellcat, you are causing problems over on my Rumble stream, and I don't like that. There you go. Someone complaining about the fucking audio over. I can't do anything about the fucking audio. Your headphones are not my fucking responsibility. So, sorry. Anyway, I have an order of business that I need your guys' help with. Recently, I did an interview with one of my favorite people to chat with. His name is Father McTeigue. Father McTeigue, as you might have surmised, is a Catholic priest. Father McTeigue has a show called The Catholic Current. Father McTeigue has had me on his show a couple times, and he's always done some of the very best and most thoughtful interviews that I've ever experienced in the last 5 years. Father McTeigue watches this content. Father McTeigue even tolerates me swearing. Not on his show, I would never do that, but you know, he watches the streams. I know he does. And we love Father McTeigue, and I feel bad every time I find out that he watches me, because I find out how I go back in my head. I'm like, how many times did I blaspheme in that stream? How many times did I swear? How many times did I lose my cool? Like, because I actually, like, it's a weird thing. I'm not a Catholic, I'm not a Christian, but I feel some sort of like obligation to be more appropriate when a priest is watching me. I bring this up because I was on his show recently. And you guys can follow the link and listen to it. It was actually a really great interview. But a funny thing happened, and I didn't even know about this until like 2 days afterwards. The Catholic Current, which is his Twitter account, tweeted out, "We welcome back psychologist and journalist Dr. Karlyn Borysenko," and they tagged me. I just didn't see it for some reason, "to discuss the recent shooting in Minneapolis and the ideological undercurrents that are transforming our political landscape." Father finishes with timely thoughts. It was a great conversation. You guys should all go listen to it. What do you think happened when he tweeted this out, though? What do you think happened? Let's go into the replies. Apparently, Frank McCormick is monitoring mentions of me on Twitter even more than I am. Psycho Frank McCormick, this classical liberal, ridiculous human being who literally just spends all day, every day, attacking people, trying to get people canceled, causing fucking problems, being just an unhinged fucking retard on the internet. He is apparently monitoring mentions of my name because I didn't even know about this. And Frank made it his business to tell the Catholic priest that he should never have me on. And then Frank's friend started commenting, this woman has been a psycho about me for years. She's supposedly a therapist in Australia, but she's like a ridiculous person. And then, of course, we have the 500-pound fat ass. That is poetry painter. And I think there might have been some other ones, too. Yup, some other people posting about me, probably all driven there by Frank. Frank also continued where he continued to spread the completely debunked smear campaign where they doxed my college boyfriend in order to try to smear me. The most successful thing that Jewish fucking, I was gonna say the F word that rhymes with maggot, but I'm not gonna say that because I'm on YouTube. But Mike Carlo is certainly a Jew. That's true or not? That's just a statement of fact. Anyway, most successful thing this asshole has ever done. Yep, they're still using that. Yes, I am aware of the problem. No, I don't give a fuck. I'm putting you in a timeout. I've already said I want to stop hearing about it. I don't give a fuck. Your comfort is far less important than me not having to restart the entire fucking stream. Again. And then other people followed after that. So anyway, here's what I need you guys to do. Instead of complaining about the audio, which nothing is going to get done about it because I don't have, it's not on my end, it's StreamYard. What I need you guys to do is to go comment on this post to counterbalance out the retards on the internet, because sadly, when this is the problem, guys. This is the problem. I know how many supporters I have. I know how many people I have who love my work. I know how many people love this interview that I did with Father McTeigue. The problem is when these people are literally only hearing from the psychos, they tend to win. So this is what I say. The people who speak up, they have the most power in any situation. I have more supporters than this, but none of my supporters are actually commenting on it. None of my supporters are speaking up to say, that was a really great interview. We really love that, yada, 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 yada. And so all they're currently hearing from are the psychopaths that have literally been stalking me for years. And this is part of why I have had such issues on the internet. It's not that I don't have supporters. I have way more supporters than all these people combined. But sometimes I need you guys to speak up and actually do shit, okay? I understand that I do not have the type of audience that cancels people or that tries to do the same bullshit that Psycho Frank McCormick is doing. You think Father McTeigue doesn't know that I'm not a Christian? He watches my content, you fucking retard. Anyway, please be respectful of the Catholic priest, and please let him know that you like the interview and that we appreciate him. And you know, if you want to respond to the other losers in the replies, you can feel free to go ahead and do that, but I would appreciate it. I would appreciate it. All right, let's get into it. And I will try to mess around with the sound issues on my end. We'll see if anything clears it up. Let me just mess around with my sound a little bit. Hang on. Now the sound's gonna be real bad. You guys are gonna be praying for the sound to come back. Now the sound's real bad, I bet. And then we're gonna change it back, and we're just gonna see if this makes the sound a little bit better. All right, well, hopefully that helps the problem. If it doesn't, everyone's just gonna have to live with it. All right, we are getting into... Wait, is it better now? Or was it better before? Guys, it sounds fine on my end. So is it better? The crackling has stopped now? There we go. All right. Excellent. Don't touch anything. All right. Let's just get into it. We are watching the first presentation. Oh, by the way, yeah, okay, I already did the super chat goal. Okay, see, my blood pressure is restabilizing now. The urge to yell is somehow leaving my system. The urge to yell is dispersing. But if we hit that super chat goal, and the sooner we hit that super chat goal, the less likely I am to yell for the rest of the stream. Okay, so you got $70. Talk amongst yourselves. Figure out who's gonna fund the stream, and let's get this party started.
A bit of an intro for myself. Hello, my name is Max. I use any pronouns. I am an artist and an educator with the Queer and Trans Health Collective, which is located here on Treaty 6 territory in Emiskwaciwâskahikan, otherwise known as Edmonton, Alberta. And, you know, I just want to start out our evening by offering a little bit of thanks to the folks who stewarded the lands that we, exist on, even if we're meeting in a digital space.
Okay. People, again, have not understood that there is a delay between the time you say something in the chat and the time that I say something and the time you say something in the chat, okay? I need a 1 in the chat if the static is back. I need a 2 in the chat if things are fine. And if you're giving me a 1, I need some sort of explanation about how bad the problem is. Okay, 2 in the chat. It's fine.
I think there's a lot that we can learn in our artistic and really any endeavors from the land and folks who meaningfully have taken care of it for time immemorial. So I just wanted to start out with that sort of intention that, we are here because of the work of many, 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 many people. And so with that, I'm going to be very straightforward. This is a very casual workshop, if you haven't been able to tell that already. Speaking for myself, I am also a university student, so it's final season. I know that for a lot of you, it's probably been a busy day, if not close to a busy week at this point, with the whole convention going down. So really, this is just kind of like a chill creative space with a little bit of informative context. And so with that, I'll start with a few slides, just talking about what are zines? Where do zines come from? Why do we like zines? And after that, we'll actually move into more of a demonstration on how to make zines in a couple of ways. And then after that, it's going to be a very chill time.
Fucking stream again. The static on your mic is bad. The audio, is it bad because other people in the chat are not? Okay, the urge to yell is back. The urge to yell is fucking back. You make a tweak a ba 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 ba. You're not helping. You're complaining. There is nothing about your chat that is actually helping. You are actually fucking complaining. So now we're stopping the stream. Guys, I don't actually have to do this stream today. Everyone understands that, right? I don't actually have to do this stream today. I already streamed Socialism for 6 hours. See, and now I'm starting to feel bad. People are paying me money, anticipating that I'm going to do the stream today, but I might just quit. And if I quit today, I'm not coming back later like I did yesterday. So which is it? Which is it? Am I going to continue to stream, or are you going to continue to fucking whine? I don't know what the fuck that means. The real juice. I don't know what the fuck that means. So you're not even oh my god. Hey, thanks, Grandma Nay. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. No more whining. No more fucking complaining. There's nothing I can do about it.
Where like we can just create together if anyone wants to like chat or ask questions.
And he just got banned.
The space will be open to do so. If no one has questions, maybe I can figure out how to play a little bit of music for us to listen to while we make stuff together. Who's to say? We'll figure it out when we get there. What I will say in the meantime, though, is that I am going to be sharing my screen with my slides. So I will not necessarily be able to see the chat. So I apologize if I miss any questions that pop up while I'm doing the slides, but feel free to leave them there and I can answer them when I'm wrapped. Again, the slideshow itself is not very long. So again, if anything comes up, feel free to leave it there. I'll answer it after before we get into the demo. So if that sounds good, I'm gonna share my screen and get to talking. Well, continuing to talk rather. Alrighty, that seems to be working. So I will now put it into presentation mode, and I'm going to hope that it's showing up that way for you as well. Since again, can't really see the chat. So who's to say? So to start out, what is a zine? Zines are typically handmade, self-published little booklets. The word zine itself is short for magazine. And, you know, if that description sounds vague, it kind of is, because zines can be a lot of different things and feature a lot of different content and really be made about any subject that you might want it to be about. I have a variety of samples that I'll show you later, but it ranges anything from people's artwork to storytelling to political content, like anything like that can be in a zine. And so with this sort of like handmade nature of zines, it can really be made in any sort of way. You'll have folks who write their own content, who draw, paint, create however way, or you'll also have folks who will borrow images and text in a sort of collage-like fashion. Either way, no matter what you're making, as long as it's like kind of a little book, it's probably a zine. And for the most part, because these are like self-published and self-made little booklets, they're usually distributed through informal channels, although this has been getting better over the past few years. I've seen multiple libraries start to have zine collections, and, you know, with more sort of stores popping up where like multiple artists can come in to like sell like smaller works, it's becoming a little more common practice to get zines in your kind of day-to-day life. But broadly speaking, you know, zines most commonly exist through like zine fairs, community events like art markets. You can even get them by mail, online, anything like this. And so where do zines come from? This is a very, very brief history of zines and zine culture, which I will also flag is primarily based in like very much like a North American context / like Western context. And I want to be like very honest about that. But I'm hoping to like dig into this a little bit more, because I always find myself a
Look
little...
at this. 70s. Zines begin to emerge in the punk movement in the late 70s due to increased, cheaper access to copy machines, some punk zines and fanzines to bands, while some were more politically oriented.
little more curious of like how zines have evolved in other places outside of North America. But again, as a student, I don't always have the time to research these things beyond the initial research put into these presentations. So with that context in mind, a little bit of zine history. Broadly speaking, human beings are like very opinionated creatures, and we love to just share our ideas in whatever ways possible. So even in the time pre-zine culture, we're kind of always finding reasons and like platforms for us to share our ideas with other people, whether that is creating like these sort of communal contexts where we can all talk to each other, or like ultimately the creation of the printing press being like one of those big kickoff points where we can create multiple copies of something and have it shared more easily, rather than having like 5 handwritten copies of something and just kind of hoping for the best. So with that, I think it's really interesting to think that like, as long as kind of human print culture has existed, there's at least like the roots of what zine culture comes from within that. However, if we're like actually thinking about zine culture as it exists in our present and like what is relevant to our kind of experience, zine culture seems to really have begun in sci-fi fan culture in the 1930s, kind of out of a place where you have science fiction fans who are not super happy with the stories that are being like given to them through more mainstream science fiction like magazines and books, because they seem a little too upbeat for the Great Depression era. Folks were really not wanting a sort of like utopian vision during the Great Depression. I wonder why. And so as a result, this spurs on this trend of fans starting to write their own stories and exchanging these smaller fanzines with one another through the mail. And we even see authors like Octavia Butler kind of coming up through scenes similar to this. So it is like in its own right, a very legitimized form of writing. And as I kind of like move past this section of time, which I've labeled from 1930s to the 1960s, it's important to recognize that like this storytelling zine culture still exists. Just everything I'm continuing on with past this point is more just like adding on layers to like how we understand zines and zine culture today, and like how it's kind of shaped into this sort of conglomerate experience rather than like one era replacing the next. And so in the 1970s, we see kind of the emergence of countercultural movements, particularly the punk movement, adopting and really getting into zine creation due to cheaper access to photocopy machines, because, you know, the cheaper that you can like make these copies, especially for folks who are in these subculture movements, the more like enticing it is to do it. You know what I mean? I'd say that's even the same case for me now as a visual artist. If I can share something for less expensive than it needs to be, I would love to do it that way. It's more economical for me personally. And so in this kind of rise of the punk zine, we see multiple different genres, even like out of that community, whether it's like zines that are devoted to different bands, or some entering that more politically oriented realm, especially with a movement like punk being very inherently political in its intentions. And so with that, as we move into the 80s and 90s, we see zines continue to diversify along with this music movement, particularly under the, like in reaction to the Reagan administration in the United States, in both the sort of music and lyrical content of these bands, and therefore the zine content of the creators. And so kind of in this time, again, we see continued sort of political critiques of, you know, current state of affairs, but then we also see an increasing like rise in feminist zines coming out of the punk subculture, like particularly Riot Grrrl, which
Yep.
comes as a reaction and response to sexism in the punk scene. And even from within both the punk scene at large and within feminist movement within the punk scene, we see zine responses that start to address things like racism and homophobia and transphobia, also found within the punk scene.
So we watched that documentary about queercore like a couple weeks back, and unfortunately for some reason the documentary file has been corrupted that we watched, but the original one that wasn't corrupted had a whole thing about Riot Grrrl. And so Riot Grrrl is very much one of those things that there was a specific Riot Grrrl zine. They were involved in like the whole queercore thing, and so that's another correlation.
Even though it's supposedly this very like countercultural movement that should be, you know, supporting folks from all backgrounds and experiences, especially if we're thinking about like an analysis of power. But the zines kind of say otherwise.
Hang on. We need to teach Dean Bob something. If the woke want to eradicate the gender binary and do so by invented non-binary identities, then wouldn't they be creating a new binary between binary and non-binary? No. No. The answer is no. And the reason that the answer is no is eventually they want to eliminate non-binary as a category. Non-binary is a transitional category to get people out of the gender binary. It gives them a different option that's not man or woman. They're non-binary. Non-binary means no binary. It is transitional. Eventually they want to get rid of that category too. So eventually, once they reach critical mass of convincing as many people as possible that gender doesn't exist, they're also going to eliminate the category of non-binary.
Really interesting sort of reflection on like what these cultures look like and how all these different voices are coming from a sort of similar root place. And so in that, we can start to think about like zines as they relate to like the queer and trans community. This is true for any movements, but especially like countercultural movements, queer and trans people have always been part of these movements since they began, in the same sense that queer and trans people have always existed in one way or another over time. And so we can see a lot of examples of zines that are coming out from like queer and trans people talking about their experiences and issues of the time that they grew up in, again, particularly rising during this era in the 80s and 90s, not only because of the sort of political proliferation and diversification in punk zines, but also like in direct response to the AIDS epidemic.
ACT UP.
And so you see like zines coming out from organizations like ACT UP
Boom!
that are specifically acting as a resource where mainstream sources are not offering that information, particularly as it relates to like safe sex and understanding AIDS in the like to the degree that they can in the start of the epidemic. And so it's kind of that lineage that still follows through a lot of like queer and trans zines today, in that although not like the case for every single queer or trans like zine artist, many of them use zines as a means to talk about subjects related to like queer and trans identity that are not found in mainstream channels. So an example of that can be seen on screen through translations. This is a zine that
I think we have that
my
one.
workplace, the Queer and Trans Health Collective, made
Queer and
in
Trans Health
2020, 2021-ish. And it's a resource about trans people navigating hormone replacement therapy access in Alberta, though not from like the perspective of like what the biological changes to one's body are, but rather like considering the emotional experience of starting hormones and what sort of decisions go into making that choice for oneself, which is kind of an empty spot in how trans people are expected to think about
that's
the
your
hormonal
area.
aspects of their transition.
You go
right?
monitor them.
So I think it's a very interesting sort of narrative that was able to be brought forward by that project, which is why I wanted to share it. And so that kind of brings us to zines today. Again, queer and trans people are still very much using zines to share information about their identities and experiences, and creating that sort of pathway for other people who are like queer and trans to explore their own identity outside of these sort of like mainstream channels. But of course, in our sort of like internet age, that becomes even easier than ever before, in that now it's not just a matter of like people are creating these zine resources that we can like share and learn from, but now we can find these things online. Folks have shared like completely digital zines, or you can see a number of zine archives on the screen right now. And even beyond that, you can buy like physical zines on like Etsy now.
Do we know all these archives? Yeah, I think we do, actually. Unironically, I do think we actually have all these archives already. Digital Transgender Archive? What's that? It sounds like something I know, but I would have to see it. Oh, actually. No, I have seen this before. I have actually seen this before. I have seen it before. I just haven't looked into it before. Okay, so we got that one. We got QZap, obviously. We got girl zines. QI archive, is that what that says? QIarchive.org. Do we have this one? Sorry, I know you guys can't see this, but I can see it, and that's really what matters. Oh, Indonesia. Indonesia? What the fuck? This is a queer Indonesian website. Look at this. I put the link in the chat. That's so weird. Okay.
Or like find them through creators on social media. So in this, like we see zine culture growing even further beyond what was already a medium meant for like accessibility and sharing, just growing even further with the online sphere. And so I think it's very interesting for us to now be like part of that growth in an active way in what we choose to create and what we choose to share, and whether or not we choose to share that online. So yeah, I would say that's pretty much it for the main part of my presentation. And so basically we're kind of moving into the creating zine portion of the evening. So it's at this point that I let you all know that you may need some materials, but there are digital alternatives that can be done. So we'll probably take like a little pause in case folks do need to go get materials, just to be very clear. So like, don't feel like super rushed.
Yeah,
we have
don't
plenty
feel
of
rushed.
time.
Everyone can go get their materials.
And so the two main things you're going to need for the zine style I'm going to show you are like a piece of paper. This is just an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. If you don't have white paper, construction paper is fine. Lined paper is fine. Whatever paper you have around is fine. Just for the thing I'm showing, preferably rectangular, but if you don't have that, we will find another way. The thing about zines, if I've not made this clear enough already, is that it's an incredibly versatile medium.
So just so people know, I do have this idea, and I was hoping to do it this year, but obviously that's not going to happen. But I do actually have this idea of I want to create our own zine at some point. And we actually did a workshop a while ago, and you can find the workshop on my Substack. It's called Beat the Woke Left at Their Own Game, the Unwoke Zine Workshop. You can find it by going to, I'll put the link in the chat, but you can find it for going to How to Speak Socialist. And then it's pinned to the top. It's like the fourth one down. And actually, we learned how to do this. And it is something that I would like to go back to doing at some point. But if you're interested in learning how to make zines, we actually had a member of the community do an amazing workshop for us on how to make really cool looking zines. So it's not just like typed in text. And I would like to actually do our own zine at some point. I have kind of this vision that I want to do a journal for the Center for Left-Wing Studies in the form of a zine, just because it's being, a little subversive. So if you want to learn more about that, you can totally go to the website and learn more about that. It was an amazing workshop. It really was. Yeah, a long line in the projects that I need to get to, that I really do want to get to, that we will get to someday, but maybe not on the timeline that I originally thought we were going to get to them. Anyway.
Pretty much anything can be a zine if you just believe it. So
anything can be a zine. You just have
we'll
to
work
believe
with
it.
whatever
True.
paper you have, if you have paper at all. And so the other thing that you'll probably need is something to cut with. I have scissors, but you can also use like an X-Acto or a mat knife or something if you feel safe using that.
Only if you feel safe.
Do what is doable for you. You know what I mean? And those are like kind of the base things we need to make the actual structure of the zine. But then besides that, it's just whatever you would want to like use to decorate or fill a zine with. So off screen, I can't lift it up. It's a big container. I have markers and like crayons and that kind of stuff. But even if you just have like a pen or a pencil, that is fine. And for folks who are like not super artistically comfortable, which like I get, we all have our not super creative days. Even if you have like a couple like magazines lying around, you can always like cut out images and like text from it. It's very versatile to like whatever you need this to be. And even to the point where like, if you don't have any of those materials, we can just do something online pretty much. My personal kind of go-to for zine making online is Canva, because it's free and it already has like kind of a zine layout thing you can use, Canva, as well as different fonts and like photos and that kind of stuff. But even if you don't want to use Canva, like you could honestly just open up like a Word document and start putting like text and images into it. True. Like there's a lot of, there's so many different things you can do. I just want to leave the space open to like whatever is good for y'all at this point in the in the convention, really. And so would we say that like, I don't know how many folks actually need to go get stuff, so I can offer like maybe until like 7:25, 7:30, if anyone needs to go grab materials. If you can confirm that in the chat, that'd be cool. But also if no one needs materials, then I can just dive into it. Let me know. While you think about that, I'm gonna have a drink of water.
Uh-oh. Did they not fast forward in the presentation? Okay, well, we're fast forwarding.
And no problem if you don't have, if you have materials but don't know what you're doing. That is almost entirely what I'm here for. We will figure it out together. But yeah, we will give folks, I guess at this point, I'll just say like 5-ish minutes if folks just need to like grab stuff. So we'll take a few. I guess that would get us between like 7:28.
Okay, well, let's just see. Let's fast forward. We're fast forwarding.
An example of something you already did,
okay,
and then it just goes missing somewhere. And so
why did you save it as this? Maybe at the time we didn't have it named that or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
I got
know.
it.
It's like my gym outfit. I wear this to go to the gym. Super cozy.
Wow.
Yeah, I was about to
It's
say,
got
I was
my pump cover, you know. I like work out, and then after I'm all swole, I take it off, and then, you know.
yeah, it's perfect to be wearing a bunch of fleece while working out.
No,
Very
it keeps
comforting.
you warm. It keeps you warm, and then like you sweat a lot, and then after, yeah, you take it off, and then you're ready to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, this gem.
Okay. Well, I'm just curious though, like what do you is there any modern zines that are like super famous that like people would know about?
Well,
I never even turned zine.
I think zines in themselves kind of tend to like fly a little below the radar for a lot of folks simply because they are like smaller and more independently produced. So like sometimes you'll run across them if you go to like smaller bookstores. Like I know
Socialist
in Edmonton
bookstores.
you have places like Glass Bookshop that might have them, or even places
Socialist
like the
bookstores,
Quilt
you mean,
Bag, which
sir.
is like an artist consignment store that can have them.
It's
but
kind
yeah,
of like a mixed media art, right?
yeah, it can be. Yeah, one of the zines I'd think of that like might be familiar to again other folks in Edmonton is Hungry Zine. And yes, Morgan's right that the tattoo shop Pansy Poke on White Ave has a little zine vending machine as well.
A zine
Yeah.
vending machine.
Wow.
Yeah, it's very cute.
He's a can. You got to go to that. You got to go get us a picture of that zine vending machine.
But yeah, Hungry Zine is like they do like a call for submissions based on like different themes. This one is on the theme of like preserve, and as implied by the title, it's food themed to some degree for each time. And so you'll get like a mix of like some recipes, some visual artwork, some like stories and like poems kind of related to those themes. I think they've released like at least like 7 or 8 of them now. I don't keep the best track necessarily, but yeah, this is one of the more popular ones that I'd say exists in Edmonton. But I'm not sure if there's really any that are on like a global scale where someone would know. Wait, like this zine.
Hungry one looks really cool. I really like food too, so maybe like.
Yeah, it not always the best one to read on an empty stomach, especially when it's like a very recipe heavy
You can have
version.
zines about anything.
So,
Recipes.
Good way to like rouse your appetite.
yeah. Okay. I think it's almost about time I gave for folks to come back. So maybe it's zine making time.
Let's see your zines. Let's see you make some zines.
Again, I will be honest. So this is just like a little mini zine. It's made with like 1 sheet of paper, and it's what we're gonna try make together today. But I do understand that like even when I do this in person, sometimes the last couple steps get confusing. So if it feels confusing, that's because it often is. And don't feel bad about it.
I'll take the time to observe that.
Yeah. I will say the first couple steps, not too bad, not too intimidating. It's a lot of folding. So for all of your benefit, I've drawn some lines on my paper so you can actually see what I'm doing, hopefully on the camera. But even then, I'll try narrate to the best of my ability what it is I'm actually doing. So
Yeah.
first,
It's like that moment where you see a socialist in the wild. It's like, I know you've had this experience because you've gone undercover at socialist stuff. It is so bizarre when you see stuff from Socialism Saturday or from like the Socialism Conference, or you go to a socialism event and you're surrounded by the same people that we watch on the videos. I remember, like, I've told this story a million times. It was a very surreal moment to me, my first undercover thing at a socialist event, where I was, like, in the middle of the classroom, surrounded by queer Marxist feminists, and none of them had shaved armpits or shaved legs, and they all had weird haircuts, and they all looked exactly like you thought they were gonna. And I was just sitting there going, I'm in Socialism Saturday. Like, I'm in the stream. I'm in the stream right now. And it was the most surreal experience of my life. But it's so funny when it happens. Anyway.
Gonna fold along this blue line I've done here. You might consider it like lengthwise of the paper, or, you know, I've heard that referred to as like hot dog style. So just a nice hot dog style fold so that you have like a slightly thinner piece of paper.
You guys taking notes? We're figuring out how to make zines.
Sorry.
Oh. No problem. Then you're gonna immediately undo that fold after you've creased it. You can kind of tell that like what we're going to be doing is marking out different sort of like lines to figure out how it all comes together later on. So a bit of folding and unfolding will ensue. So now we're gonna fold along it this way. So along the sort of width of it instead. And once again, score it. Sometimes referred to as hamburger style. You know, trying to use helpful terminology. And then we're gonna actually fold it in half one more time this way so that you get a very sort of thin piece here. So we'll see. Again, if anyone needs me to like pedal back or anything, you can let me know.
Oh my god, Max, this is my jam. I love origami.
We're losing to these people. I want everyone to keep in mind, we are losing to these people. We are losing to these people. We are losing to these people. You are losing to them. Your kids are going to be brought up in their ideology. Your grandkids are going to be these people. Your grandchildren are going to be these people if we don't fucking stop this. We are losing, and we are losing badly, and this is who we are losing to, and this is unacceptable. This is unfucking acceptable. There is no reality in which we should be losing to these people. These people can't even fold a piece of paper on their own. And do you know why they win? Because they actually get out into the world and do things rather than fucking tweeting all day. Simona, thanks for the super chat. Hey, Dr. K, can I give you those zines in person at some point? Well, sorry, if not, I can still send them. I mean, if I'm in the area, Simona, like, yes, if we are in the same area and you want to drive to wherever I am to give me some zines, yes. You can give me the zines in person. I appreciate the super chat.
We're two peas in a pod, Max. Take a look. Take a look at my desk.
Oh my gosh. The self-healing mat.
Oh yeah.
Incredible.
We're two peas in a pod. Let's do this.
He is wearing an
Honestly,
avocado
and the fun thing
onesie.
is my hoodie is sitting like right here. So
Oh,
if it wasn't so warm,
right there. Yeah, I got one
if it
too.
wasn't so warm, we'd be completely on the same page right now. So anyways, now we're back to our like main sheet of paper. Okay. I meant to just say unfold it one time from hamburger. That's my mistake. So basically,
right,
you have
we're not
your
watching this. I'm sorry, we're not watching this. I'm not watching another 20 minutes of this. We're just going to the other. We're going to the other video. I fucking can't. I've already watched 6 hours of socialism before I even got to this stream today. Okay, you have to forgive me. I am not watching these people fuck around with paper for the rest of this stream. If you want to go back and watch the zine workshop, you can. I can't. I can't do it. So we're going to your video. We're going to the other video. I cannot be confronted with the reality that we are losing to these people for 20 more minutes. I fucking can't. I will get so mad. We still have 20, hang on, you're making me do math. $23 left to go to hit our super chat goal, guys. Who wants to put us over that super chat goal? Come on. Someone sends in $25 right now. We're over that super chat goal. And I won't yell at you for the rest of the stream. I promise. Let's see what's in this video. This is We're Here, We're Queer, and We're Making Zines. And it was 4 years ago. And FIU means Florida International University. Oh. Recorded January 23rd, 2021. All right.
All about the world of zines, and in particular, the roles that zines have played in queer communities, both past and present. The program will feature 3 different speakers and have a number of parts, including 2 presentations and also a conversation. There should be some time at the end for the speakers to address audience questions. So if you do have questions, please.
I need $3 more.
Or if you do have a question, please leave it in the chat.
Thanks, Donnie.
Or you can use the Q&A button as well. I'm going to get the program started by introducing my colleague at the Wilsonian, Zoe Welch. Zoe came to the Wilsonian in 2018, working as an education manager, and she has focused in particular on programs for families and for K through 12 students. I've been around a little bit longer than Zoe, and during my time, we've offered a number of different K through 12 programs. I'd say that what they all have in common is that they aim to offer young people opportunities for self-expression and also the tools and the skills that they can use to express themselves effectively and even powerfully. And I think you'll see some examples of that a little bit later in the program. Over Zoe's tenure, it's become really clear to me that she is just about the ideal person to lead such a program, because Zoe has a real vocation for exactly that kind of work, which makes it extra sad for me that Zoe is leaving the Wilsonian in just a few weeks, striking out for new and much colder adventures in Canada, which makes this program Zoe's swan song, in a manner of speaking. So Zoe, I'm gonna turn it over to you now, but also wanted to let you know what a pleasure and an honor it's been to work with somebody so dedicated, so resourceful and creative.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much. Thanks, John. I have to say, when a person gets to do what I've been doing at the Wilsonian as a job, a person feels like they're in paradise or heaven, one of the two. One little correction, I actually started in 2016. So I'm not sure what that means, John, if you think I've been there for just 3 years or what that feels like. In any case, I want to ask our 2 other participants this evening who are going to be talking about zines with us to open up their cameras for a minute. Nigeli and Christina, please. I almost said s'il vous plaît. Hi, hello. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. This is an absolute thrill and a pleasure, not simply
hang on. Is there even a constitutional method to rid institutions of communist infiltration? Nope. Nope. No, there's not, Dean Bob. No, there's not. No, there's not. That looks like a bi flag. You know what? You know what, guys? Fuck these women for ruining short haircuts. Fuck these women for making it impossible for me to have a short haircut. Do you guys know how much I loved having a shaved head? I know people thought I looked like a boy and all that stuff. I don't care. I don't care. I loved having a shaved head. I fucking loved it. It was so easy. It felt so nice. And these women fucking ruined it. They ruined it for all of us, and they need to go fuck themselves right off.
Sense that it might be my swan song, but this is my jam. And I know we're going to have a lot of fun. So I'm just going to read, folks, I'm just going to read the introductions that I have for our two guests. So I'm going to start with Christina Favretto. Christina is the head of special collections at the University of Miami Libraries. She has worked in a variety of bookish, her word, capacities at the Boston Public Library.
Everyone thinks I'm a lesbian when they first see me, okay? Everyone thinks I'm a lesbian, even lesbians. Lesbians fucking love me. You don't have to live anything down. It's a common misconception. I am not a lesbian. I am terrified of eating pussy. I love dick. It's a common misperception. It happens all the fucking time. Lesbians to this day, lesbians see me and they basically fall in love with me, and then they're already renting their U-Haul, and then they find out I'm not a lesbian, and their faces, I swear to God, this has happened to me like multiple fucking times.
Harvard, Duke, San Diego State, and UCLA.
Oh yeah?
Curating and building collections on zines, culinary.
Wait, tell us more about those college. Hang on, I was talking over them. Tell me more about those college libraries that are building collections of queer zines. Tell us more, please.
And I know we're going to have a lot of fun. So I'm just going to read, folks, I'm just going to read the introductions that I have for our two guests. So I'm going to start with Christina Favretto. Christina is the head of special collections at the University of Miami Libraries. She has worked in a variety of bookish, her word, capacities at the Boston Public Library, Harvard, Duke, San Diego State, and UCLA, curating and building collections on zines, culinary history, surfing, and Aldous.
This woman is a professional at building university library collections around leftist propaganda. Wow.
Manutius, to name a few. Now let's hang on to this little ditty here because I want to circle back if we can ever get her to say more. Christina has also had a shadow life as a performance artist and a lead singer in a post-punk cabaret band in Boston. I want to know more.
They're always porn stars. They're literally always porn stars. Cabaret, a post-punk cabaret. They're always fucking porn stars.
At the University of Miami, Christina has built a significant archive of punk, post-punk, and countercultural materials.
Oh, yeah?
Including local music archives, art and political ephemera, books about edge culture, unique artist books, and over 15,000 zines from around the world. So
the University of Miami, in the backyard of Ron DeSantis, has a collection of over 15,000 zines curated by a post-punk cabaret artist. Do you want to know why I think that woke will never fucking die? Because the conservatives in the supposed anti-woke states don't even know this is happening, and they don't care.
I have so many things I want to say and ask, and I'm going to hang tight for now. I can't wait to hear from you, Christina. And we also have with us tonight Nigeli Lazo. Nigeli is a graduate of I Preparatory Academy, a senior high school in Miami. And she was one of the participants my first year working on Zines for Progress in 2016-17. Nigeli then became an intern at the Wolfsonian while she was still at high school at IPrep. And there she worked with me on the back end of running the Zines for Progress program. So she had that front end experience as a participant and a zine maker, and then as somebody working.
Look at this. Look at this. We talked about how this is at Florida International University. I just looked up Zines for Progress. It redirects to Florida International University's website. There is a whole fuck off section of this on Florida International University's fucking website. The Wolfsonian Florida International University. That's what you were saying? So you got there before me. Wow. It's the rabbit hole that never ends, truly. Hey, thank you, DP, for the super chat. Did you know that Greg Foreman of the Black Conservative Perspective channel featured a clip of yours in videos? It was good. Yes, I actually did know that, and I do appreciate him featuring that. He featured a clip about how I was explaining the new transgender district in San Francisco isn't trans, it's queer. I really appreciated that, man. Shout out Greg Foreman of the Black Conservative Perspective channel. He put my clip up, and it was right at the beginning of the broadcast, and, I appreciate him sharing the information. Thank you for that. Back to this. Back to this. You never know where my content's going to pop up. They pretend I'm not relevant, and then my content pops up everywhere, and people are stealing it, and all this stuff, and it's like, okay, well, maybe I'm more relevant than you think I am. Just saying.
Working on the back end with me. While she was working as an intern, she also launched a zine project for her high school's Gay Straight Alliance, her GSA. Oh, yeah? And we're going to hear more about that later.
Oh, yeah?
So for now,
she launched a zine project for her high school's Gay Straight Alliance. Of course she did.
Now I'm just going to close my camera and my mic. I'll ask Nigeli to do the same. And Christina is going to give us a tour of the history of zines, and then I'll do the same to talk about Zines for Progress, and then we're going to come together for a conversation. And we invite you to share any questions in the chat that might come to mind, and we'll try to get to those before we close for the rest of the evening. So take it away, Chris.
Okay, hi. Thank you very much for that introduction, Zoe. And after having gotten to know you a little bit and preparing for this presentation, I'm really sad that you're leaving and that I won't get to know you more. But zines draw people together. So I'm going to share my screen.
Zines draw people together.
And let's see. We'll get. Here we go. And. There we go. Now you're seeing what you're supposed to see. So I've entitled my presentation, All You Need is Paper and Passion, because that really is all you need. We're going to talk about how we can create communities, how zines have helped form communities and create environments that are more conducive to communication and free expression of one's own personality through these very simple methods. So what are zines? And there might be some people listening who don't know, so bear with me. Zines are a simple explanation is that they're self-published usually. There are some exceptions, we'll get into those. They're topical, they're about, very much about they're subject driven. So they could be about a political movement, they could be about poetry, they could be about personal issues, they could be about dumpster diving, they can be about architecture. They are local. They focus on local issues, or they focus on international, national issues with a local flair. They're cheap because they're usually photocopied paper. Maybe you use some staples, or if you get fancy, you can actually use string and sew the bindings together. They're ephemeral, meaning that they don't hang around forever. So that makes them rare. And so it's quite often there are zines in collection.
Simona's getting in trouble with her queer friend because her queer friend looked at my content and is not happy. Good luck. Good luck. Good luck, Simona. Come back.
Talk about this too, that may have cost 25 cents when they were created back in 1975 and are now worth a great deal more than that. So if you want to go back far enough, you could argue that the pamphleteering movement of the late 1700s, the Enlightenment, etc., was a zine movement because people needed to get a lot of
The Enlightenment pamphleteering movement was a zine movement. The Enlightenment was a zine movement, guys. Yeah, okay, sure.
good information and important information and revolutionary information out there to the widest public quickly and cheaply. So here you see a copy of Thomas Paine's Common Sense. I like to see it as an early zine. But really,
Thomas
zines
Paine's Common
come
Sense
around
was a zine. Okay.
when science fiction communities coalesce.
Bruh.
So here you see something that's not really a zine. It's a magazine that was very popular, Amazing Stories. Kind of a, would be considered pulp fiction magazine, but really it had some pretty good stories and information. So people started looking at subgenres of science fiction, maybe certain characters or certain authors or certain themes, time travel, etc., and started creating these publications. You can see here's Hyperopia, the far-sighted fanzine. It's one of the first examples that we have in our collection of the use of the word fanzine. And this is from, there's no date on it, but just from the graphics, etc., I would say maybe 1940s. Zines were around earlier than that, but this one uses the word fanzine. And it's just very charming and kind of goofy. Here you see another one, the Futurians and New Fandoms. So clearly it explains zines are really about these communities of fans of something. Could be a band, could be, in this case, a certain kind of science fiction. So this was a genre that really blossomed. One of the first flowering of zines, as we know them, was in the 1930s and 40s, although I found this great zine called The Flapper, and this is from the 1920s. And there you see a lovely flapper walking a duck, because that's what flappers did. And it is just a charming little zine that was published by flappers for flappers. And one of the quotes within was, "Make some boob a darn good wife." So they were kind of like many zines do. They were saying, look, I may belong to this subculture, but you know what? We're just like you in many ways. We're just flying our own flag. So the Flapper zine, in a lot of ways, was a zine about outsiders who were just presenting themselves proudly to the world. We're going to see a lot more of that. So other inspirations of zines, something very immediate, is graffiti. So on the left, you see
graffiti is a zine.
Roman graffiti.
Okay.
And on the right, very modern graffiti in New York City in the past.
Roman graffiti was a zine. Okay.
Decade. So the immediacy of getting your message out there with graffiti can be compared to zines. However, not many people, you have to be passing by that area to actually see the graffiti and read this spontaneous message that someone feels you need to see in a very urgent way. But zines reach a wider community. Other inspirations to zines were, on the left, you have a futurist publication by Filippo Tommaso Marinetti, Zang and it was about, really about letting yourself be kind of foolish and having fun with graphics and looking at, as you know, the futurists really liked technology. They liked speed, they liked industry. And then you had the Dada movement, which also relished diversity, and it relished kind of poking a little bit of fun at more staid institutions and bureaucracies. Here is a major inspiration to zinesters around the world, though, and that is the situationist movement. So this was essentially a situationist zine But it was a movement that started in France in the late 50s. It was inspired by Marxism and by the avant-garde art movements I just mentioned. And they called themselves situationists because they set up situations that happened. They had dérives, which were kind of pointless walks during which anything could happen. Groups of roaming situationists would wander around and just see what happened to them. And their main Bible is Guy Debord, The Society of the Spectacle. You put it all together and you have the second flourishing of zines, and that is in the mid-1970s in the punk movement. So it was this confluence of all those movements percolating, political events that were happening, and also the do-it-yourself, the DIY movement. So here you see Johnny Thunders of the New York Dolls, and he's wearing a really cool t-shirt that not only has text all over it, but also graffiti on top of it. It just showed this kind of adherence to the written word and this love for the written word as a vehicle for communication. Jello Biafra, the lead singer of the Dead Kennedys, said, "Don't hate the media, become the media." And that is something that the punk rockers, here you see John Lydon with the famous Destroy t-shirt, they took it to heart. They felt that as they communicating not only got the word out about their bands, but it got the word out about what they were about, what the message behind the band was. So here's a
Dean Bob, they know that, but there was a specific movement within the punk movement called the queercore movement. It was originally called the homocore movement. The queercore movement is how queer ideology developed. It's one of the guiding. So they're very well aware that there were punks that wore swastikas, but they're talking about the queercore movement.
Very, very early zine. It's called Sniff and Glue, and it's British, and it was very cheaply produced. You could see there was just one staple up in the corner, 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, very yellowed. This was by Mark Perry, and it advertised these underground bands that weren't famous at the time. It cost 30 pence. A copy of Sniff and Glue like this now is probably well over $1,000.
Really? Zines are an investment.
Early punk zines, the Sunday Mirror, there you see the famous safety pin symbol, and Punk, which is an American fanzine.
Do you guys remember after the 2016 election when Trump won the first time? And Democrats started wearing safety pins around places to tell people that if they saw a safety pin, it was a safe space. Does anyone remember this? Where did that come from? Safety pin on the fucking zine. Where did that come from? God damn, man. Oh. Yeah, that's fucking crazy. But there it is. The safety pin.
There were more mainstream ways of getting the word out about underground music. Here you see the New Musical Express. But I think a lot of the folks who saw these zines said, this is really what we should be about. So there you see a gap of maybe 20 years between the issue on the left and the one on the right that shows the lead singer of Susie and the Banshees. And you see that they adopted a much more zine-y kind of look because they felt that that was the aesthetic of the future and that was something that was more meaningful. These were the years of Reagan and Thatcher and massive unemployment and strikes in the UK and the US, and zines were in a way a mouthpiece for these movements. The other way to get the word out were through flyers. A lot of people would see these wandering around. Now we have our, our pocket oracles, our little rectangular gods, our phones that tell us what's going on. But back then, this is how you found out what was happening. Stapled to a telephone pole, you would have an advertisement for a band, and they're, just these subversive messages. What allowed people to really take on zines as a technology were these cheaper modes of distribution, one of them being the mimeograph, which was just a pretty easily obtainable and not expensive machine that really was just forcing ink through stencils, where you could create multiple copies of a publication pretty simply. People who do remember mimeographed items will remember fondly the smell. They had a unique smell, actually. It was pretty good. And also the typewriter. You did not need to get fancy. You could just type something out, cut out the words that you typed and paste them to a piece of paper and then just photocopy it, because the big thing was the photocopier, of course. Once photocopiers came into play, it was a game changer. So here's an early zine called Panache that shows kind of a nice example of this collage art, what was known as the ransom note style. And then, of course, you could see these are album covers. We're using these influences from Futurism, Dada, the graffiti of the Jam, this kind of black and white, almost like a shot you'd get when you were arrested. So zines have gotten fancier. Here you see some nice early uses of digital technology used for zines, and so it allowed for kind of a different graphic identity. So the zines cleaned up eventually. Zines could become fancy. Bust and Venus both started out as black and white photocopied zines and went on for pretty long runs as glossies. And there were zine countercultures. There were zine fests happening. Zines like Bimbox were widely distributed. This one was free and became pretty popular in their day. So they allowed you to spread the word, as I've said before, about movements. In this case, you have a Riot Grrrl zine. It came with a really sweet little sticker inside it. Another free weekly mini zine. You could pick those up at record stores. When bands played, people were usually handing out their zines as you walked in the door. So, of course, we want to talk also about queer communities formed through zines. Here you see two fairly early 90s, when zines were still, they really broke after that science fiction period in the 1930s and 40s, as I mentioned. But the 90s also is a period that saw a real flowering, ways for people to communicate. So here on the left is a British zine, the Lesbian Archive Info Center. On the right, it's kind of a conference announcement for the sweaty Southern radical queer and trans convergence. These are all zines that we have at University of Miami in our collections.
Oh, yeah?
Pawholes is an interesting example.
Guys, don't worry. All the queer zines are in the University of Miami collection. We'll have to send someone there at some point. We'll have to send someone there to get us photos and copies of these things because, it would be really helpful. I mean, we can probably, once we have the photo of them, we can find the PDF on the internet. So I don't know why this woman is saying these things are worth $1,000. If you know the name of the zines, you can find the PDF on the internet, and then you can print off the PDF. I guess maybe an original zine, but that's absurd. That's like a fucking Birkin being worth $20,000. I can buy a replica dupe Birkin that looks exactly like an original Birkin right now for like $700. But no, the original, the real one sells for $20,000. It's the same fucking thing. It's like you can literally print off a zine on your computer if you know the name of the zine. You can find the PDF on the internet, and they're saying a zine is worth $1,000. Please.
Example of a zine that was mostly lesbian in content, but also had welcomed gender, transgender writers, and covered all sorts of issues. The rallying point was music. Music and
True.
Feminism and the Riot Grrrl movement.
Riot Girl, again.
You had much more serious zines like 1, 2, 3 Punch, How Misogyny Hurts Queer Communities, which is a zine on femme identities. And there you see a typewriter right on the cover of the zine. My Comrade on the left was a very popular zine for the transgender community. If you flipped it over, just turned it upside down, it says My Sister. So it really was a little bit divided between born female, born male, gender identities, and then eventually just became My Sister, My Comrade, with a slash between the two, the gay 90s. Another early transgender zine is Short and Queer, which was published by Kelly Short and Queer, who transitioned, became a trans guy, and just writes about his daily life and encounters and conversations. And these are really important, unfiltered accounts of an era. That's one of the reasons zines are so important, because they really give us an uncensored view. Very often journals have, magazines have editors. You can't say everything you'd like to say. We know that.
Are you
the New York
fucking
Times
serious?
can't just publish what.
I know I was looking at my phone. My Comrade, the gay 90s. Could you literally be more on the nose than that? Now that I'm a dude, okay.
Whatever they feel like saying at the moment.
Missed it, yeah.
But zines do. And so they are a really invaluable window into various time periods, into movements. And
Zoe Joey over on Rumble says they use the term comrade. Bro. Not only do they use the term comrade, there are entire classes on what the term comrade means. If I'm being honest, we need to retake that comrade class that we took a couple years ago. We need to do that class again. That was like, what was it? It was like a 3-hour class on how to be a comrade and the history of being a comrade and all the rules for being a comrade and all that. We have to do that class again. It's been a while. There are a lot of new people here. We know more than we did when we took the class the first time. We got to take the comrade class again.
Into what individuals were feeling. There's Dragazine, which is really fun.
Dragazine!
Focused on the drag community. And Crooked Fagazine.
Crooked Fagazine? Oh my fucking god. Oh. The drag queens had their own fucking zine.
Again, reclaiming that word and turning it around and saying, this is who we are. I love that cover. It's really beautifully done.
Yeah, very artful.
The New Me is a fairly recent zine where you see the influences of kind of the manga style. And this one is a very simple zine, doesn't even have a staple. It just opens up. It's an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper that's been folded
just a piece of paper, guys.
A couple of times. And as you open it, it opens up to kind of a poster on the next page.
Wow.
Are You a Boy or a Girl is a little zine that's a story for children about Andy, A-N-D-I, who is asked, are you a boy or a girl? And decides, I'm just Andy. So this was a way for the author to get that information out about, get their message out about gender, just being able to be fluid about gender, as is FTMPD, female to male multiple personality disorder zine. This is one of my favorites, actually. David is an early Miami zine that what you're seeing are 80s issues. You can kind of chart the club scene in Miami and sadly also the advent of AIDS and its massive destruction within that community. Green Zine also is by a local young woman who then moved, I believe, to San Francisco, but really claims her identity as a Miami Cuban-American young lesbian. We also have zines from other countries. The Jamaica Daily News, 1980. It was not easy to be a gay person in Jamaica in those years. in particular. And so a lot of the daily news you see, it's very roughly produced, but it talks about political issues in Jamaica, as well as just parties and events taking place within the gay community. It was very underground. It's very hard to find. This is a fanzine from Brazil. It's just called Fanzine. And as you can see, it discusses it discusses gender, drag, gender identity, etc. Queer Chicana. Here's a zine from Ecuador that's about LGBTQ plus communities in Ecuador. Here's Girls Life magazine that actually has kind of an international scope.
Wow.
Cat Moms in Love is American, and it's just this sweet little zine about a couple who adopt a cat. Also, you can count cartoneras. These are these formats of self-published stories, books, poetry collections. They're bound in cardboard. They're quite beautiful. They're zine inspired in many ways. You have fancier zines that are done in letterpress like Kerbloom. Zines have been copied.
Vogue
They've
is
made
a
it to
zine.
Vogue. That's a zine look, or the cover of a book about punk, Please Kill Me. There are zines about zines.
There is a zine about being fucking zine librarians. Are you shitting me? These people literally wrote zines about being zine librarians. You guys understand, right? I know I'm signed up for it. Don't worry about it. You guys understand, right? We're going to have to go through and read all this shit and catalog all this shit. We are literally going to have to go through and read all this and catalog all of this. If you want to help me read zines, what I need you to do is go over to leftwingstudies.com, and I need you to click the volunteer link, and I'll even put the link in the chat. Do you guys want to help me read all this shit and analyze all this shit? Because I need volunteers to help me do this, because I'm creating a zine archive specifically for this purpose. We're all gonna have to fucking do this, okay? I don't care if you want to or not. Go to the fucking website, follow the instructions. Just follow the instructions to get into the Discord. That's what I need right now. I need people to go to the website. I need you to volunteer. I need you to follow the volunteer instructions to get into the Discord. Everyone needs to help out with this. I can't read all this shit on my own, guys. You can't do this to me. Everyone has to sign up. Go to the website, follow the instructions, get into the Discord. Don't worry about the data entry stuff. Just apply that to reading zines, okay? Oh. Fuck these people. Fuck these people. I'm gonna go to the bathroom. I'll be right back. I need a minute. I'm gonna let this play.
Librarian zine about collecting zines. There are books about zines, zine libraries. You can see here, zine collections that circulate. There are large zine collections at Duke University, it's the University of Miami, Salt Lake City. So here, you can't see it very well, but these are rare book dealer catalogs talking about zines where they have very, very inflated prices from what zines originally cost. It's quite the profit margin. There are some others. You could see this is usually a rare book dealer. And this is a flyer for an exhibition we had at University of Miami about Florida zines in particular. There are zine events, zine fests. So the community's out there and you're going to be hearing more about it. I say just do it. This is another one of my favorite zines, Yo Soy Miami, about a young Miami vegan woman just writing about life. If you have any questions, here's my information. Feel free to reach out to me. And I think we can pass it back.
University email address. That is a university email address. Miami, library.miami.edu/special connections. Let's go to that. Wait, hang on. I need to look at it. library.miami.edu/special collections. Let's take a look. Let's take a look. Where are the zine collections? Oh, did the woman quit? Zines. All right, I'm not going to go through and look at all this right now. Look at all the things these guys have related to zines. Bruh. Whatever, I'll look at that later.
Back to Zoe. Thank you.
Oh, Christina, that was so interesting. Thank you so much. I've already taken notes, but instead of jumping into questions, what I'm going to do now is share my screen and give a little tour to folks about the program we do at the Wilsonian called Zines for Progress.
Yeah, so many
woke
right zines for progress.
There we are. So I came to Wilsonian in 2016 and I started running the Zines for Progress program.
Oh yeah?
So it has been running for 5 years. The first 4 of which were in person. So Zines for Progress is a program specifically for senior high school students. And so what we aim to do is to...
It is a program for high school students to make them into little activists. Tell us more about how you're making the high school students into little activists.
Lead students along an experience where they learn to harness the tools of communication and the art of persuasion. And these are things that the Wilsonian does very well. Our collection is very much devoted exactly to that, to persuasion and propaganda. And so when students begin to learn how
they're literally admitting that they're teaching high school students how to make propaganda. Did everyone catch that? This is dedicated to persuasion and propaganda. They're teaching, no. This is in Florida. This is at Florida International University. Propaganda. Say again. Let me turn on the closed captions.
To lead students along an experience where they learn to harness the tools of communication and the art of persuasion. And these are things that the Wilsonian does very well. Our collection is very much devoted exactly to that, to persuasion and propaganda. And so when students begin to learn how these mechanisms work, they are then able to harness them for themselves to begin addressing topics that they want to discuss and that they care about. And I really want to emphasize that student agency is at the center of Zines for Progress. So it is up to students to decide the topics that they want to address. And that's supported by the teachers in the classrooms and of course by me. And so Zines is really a combination, or Zines for Progress, I should say, is a combination of bringing together language arts, visual arts, media literacy, and community problem solving. We call it Zines for Progress, and I actually unpack that terminology with the kids. What does progress mean? And so we want this to be proactive. So while kids can be addressing things that are extremely troubling and seem insurmountable, there is something that we want kids to be able to feel they have agency around. And so it's a way for them to figure out where their place and what their role might be in that. And the kids that I'm working with, they're all digital natives. And so, in fact, I jotted down that quote by Jello Biafra, "Don't hate the media, become the media." That's exactly what we're trying to do with Zines for Progress as well, as these kids are taking over the spaces that they generally turn to for entertainment, and they're now going to become the makers. They become the producers of meaning. So by unpacking propaganda and the way the mechanisms of persuasion work, they can then begin to get on the inside of that and address topics that they care about. So for the last 5 years, I've worked with over 1,200 students across Miami-Dade County. This is a public school program. And so teachers who are interested express their interest through an application process, and then we onboard the teachers. So far we've produced 356 individual zines, and 130 different topics have been addressed so far. So that means certain topics come back and are addressed again by a different group of students. And this is across 48 classrooms over the last 5 years. So the pedagogy goes two ways. I really want to emphasize that. Students are learning about their course content, because these are academic programs that they're in a classroom, their teacher has decided to do this. And so whether it be AP English, marine science, photography, US government history, creative writing, art, photography, it's across the board. Kids are learning about their topics while they're learning how to make zines. And then it's also two-way in the sense that readers are learning about a topic, they're learning about that particular perspective from the point of view of each student and group of students who make their zines. I, as a person who moved to Miami and also to the US in 2016, I learned so much about the US from these zines, and I learned so much in particular about Miami from these zines. It was really an amazing way to dive head on into a new country and a new city. We work across schools, so we have magnet schools, we have art and design, schools devoted to art and design, Marine Academy of Science and Technology, another magnet school, Law Enforcement Officers Memorial, where the kids select one of 3 strands, Homeland Security, Forensic Science, or Law Studies. We had one school that was for pregnant girls and new moms, so the babies were on site so the girls could continue studying. We have many Title I schools. We have some IB classrooms, that is International Baccalaureate. So it really crosses the gamut. So the way the program works, as I said, the teachers will first apply. They come to the museum for a professional development day, and that day is entirely experiential. So they are experiencing what the kids are going to experience when they come to the museum. So they're given an introduction in the same way the kids will when I go to the classrooms, and that is, what is the Wilsonian? Who are we? What do we care about? How does the collection connect to zines, which feels so incredibly contemporary, even though we've just learned about their history? The Wilsonian's collection is from the Industrial Revolution, so 1850-ish to 1950-ish. Yet what we have in our collection can speak, if not directly, then most certainly tangentially, to topics that kids are addressing today. And so here are a couple of examples of material we have in the collection that I can easily use with kids to talk about visual communication. How do you marry text and image together to create meaning and to make sense of things in the world, and also to create what I say to the kids is a vibe, like what kind of an aesthetic do you want to bring to your topic? What kind of an emotional experience are you wanting to engender in your reader? So let me see, this isn't popping forward. Sorry about that, guys. I always maintain a collection of contemporary work that I can share with the students so that they can see really great examples from professional graphic designers about how you can bring together text and image in such a way that you are conveying a sense of something. I actually use these as examples of imagery where you don't even really need the text. It speaks for itself. So we also do a tour through the galleries. I have particular objects and art that I especially like to address with the kids because I feel like it really speaks to what we're up to. So for example, on the right, we're in one of the galleries looking at radios. And the one radio there that's just sort of the second one close to my hand looks like the front end of an American automobile. And this was a radio that was produced in France that same year. So why? So we start talking about how objects kind of piggyback themselves onto other objects where we can impute meaning and begin to attach ideas to objects and to images. And then on the right, this is our chief librarian, Frank Luca. And before every visit that the classrooms make, I let Frank know what the topics are of that particular group of students who are coming. And so you'll see these are overviews of the table. He'll print out those topics and then he'll find materials in our collection that speak again, either directly or tangentially to the issues the kids are talking about. And while the Me Too as a term didn't exist in the era of our collection, there are certainly materials that address what Me Too is talking about today. Same with LGBTQ discrimination, Black Lives Matter, and so on. There's always ways for our collection to speak to what the kids are talking about today, and they really find that quite amazing. So I'd like to remind them that they're standing on the shoulders of giants, and someday folks will be standing on their shoulders. It's kind of the way the world progresses. After our tours, we go into our workshop, and the Wilsonian has a workshop area where we have all kinds of materials out. And so the kids are really working with their hands. This is where they get tactile. And what I love is you see this kind of cross-platform work. So these digital natives, he's got out his phone to have a look at what this wheelchair icon looks like, and he's beginning to manufacture that out of this. These are actually foam letters that he's figured out how to reconfigure. Here we have the typewriter, massively popular. Every single classroom that comes into that workshop gravitates to the typewriter. And then we see how the typed text is being integrated into a handmade zine on the left, on the right. And there's that digital element as well, that cell phone. So I'm going to show you a few of the zines that have been produced over the years that address LGBTQ issues in particular, and we'll have a look at some of the pages on the inside. So you can see the range of aesthetics that kids bring to the work. On the right, this is a very delicate, powerful zine. And yes, this is a zine. It's actually a packet of letters that the kids who produced this together, they each wrote a letter, and the package of letters is addressed to everyone on Equality Lane who live in Earth in the solar system, and it is from all the gays. So there's something slightly funny about that, but there's something also very delicate about it as well. When we're inviting people to unbundle and read what the kids want to tell us. So definitely a historical document. Then we see on the right here this really clever way of these play on words, and then also this is the back and front of one zine. And so we see how the prescriptive colors that we're told belong to us depending on our sex and or our gender, and then this zipper in the middle that's cleverly playing on the idea of drag and how we dress. This one here is pretty heartbreaking. So a lot of the kids are talking about their own personal experiences. And in this one in particular, this is talking about a gay child who came out to their parents and was put out on the street. So this is about homeless youth who are LGBTQ and now without shelter. And so the zine was made in the shape of a house. And then the pages were the different colors of the pride flag. I'm just going to show you very quickly a couple of other zines that don't relate necessarily to our topic tonight, but that demonstrate the range of aesthetics and the kinds of topics that are addressed, and kind of the humor and the cleverness that can be brought to the content. So on the bottom right, for example, these are interactive tabs that you can pull in and out. This is called Yo Soy, and it's I am. And it's basically like an encyclopedia or a cultural dictionary, if you will. And it's the translation between Anglo and Latin culture. Anglos use chicken soup and Latins use Vicks VapoRub. And so this year, everything pivoted to online. So I updated some of the imagery that I'd be using to show kids about how we can work with text and image together and how we can put together a story visually.
Hang on. What is care work worth? What does that remind us of? If I say to you, what is care work worth? What does that remind you of? having kids do a zine. What is care worth, work worth? What message are they trying to convey? The unpaid labor of mothers abolish the family, the patriarchy, blah, 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 blah. That is an abolish the family argument right there.
With text and image together and how we can put together a story visually. Here, this is a little bit of media literacy. And so these two images on the left, it's showing how, depending on what kind of a lens you're using on your camera, you can alter the meaning of something that you're looking at. So really, these people are spaced out 6 feet apart. But if you use a long lens, you're condensing your depth of field, and it looks like everybody's standing together. Depending on filters you want to throw on somebody on the right, you can make them look enraged and angry or something else. So this year, Zines for Progress was completely online. The theme was hybrid reality, living history. So for the first time, there was actually a theme that was proposed, which was hybrid reality, living history. And so the kids were asked to address something that they wanted to talk about in terms of this last year, this extraordinary year that we've all lived through together and alone. And so I created a series of videos that we would look at together online. So this is me zooming into one of the classrooms. We're about 11 and a half minutes into a 28-minute video. So I was showing them how they were going to be able to use the Google Slide environment, which is an incredibly robust design space. And the videos showed all the different ways that you can use that space. And I'll just give you a few samples of what the kids produced. It was really extraordinary. The range of the aesthetics and the topics was broad and deep and really original, sometimes very heartbreaking. This is a documentation of the year that we just lived through together, both.
Systemic fail. I will not go, my body, my... This is a high school program in Florida. This is a high school program in Florida that got launched and was operating under Ron DeSantis. And I'll bet you this program is still operating today because Ron DeSantis and the people advising him have literally no fuck off clue what they're dealing with.
Both in the United States and around the world. And so all of these pages, there were 135 works produced. They were all bound together in a zine, which we now have as a physical object. You can visit the coffee shop at the Wilsonian to have a look at a copy if you'd like to. Now this, we're going to go back in time. This was the 2017 Miami Zine Fair. And I always take the zines that are produced every year to the Miami Zine Fair to display and share with the public the work that the students have produced. This slide is fun because we're about to dive in with Nigeli. I'll invite her in a moment. On the left is the Lip. That's the zine that Nigeli made when she was at iPrep, and she was a participating zine student. And then the two images beside that are when from when Nigeli interned with us, and she led a zine project with her GSA, with her Gay Straight Alliance Club at her school. And in a minute, I'm going to ask her to talk more about that. These are a couple of the zines that her GSA produced and that were for sale at their table at the Miami Zine Fair. I don't sell the zines that I show, I give them back to the students, but they were selling their zines. And I'm going to get Nigeli to tell you a little bit more about that in a minute. And then have a look at this, folks. Here is Nigeli, a high school student, doing something I couldn't bear to do. She's standing in front of an audience of over 300 people. In 2018, in June, the Association of Academic Museums and Galleries held their annual general meeting in Miami, and they had a session called Throwdown. And so we pitched to the association a presentation by Nigeli about zines, and this is her doing it. Honest to goodness, I don't know that I'd be able to. It was absolutely stellar. She got a standing ovation and she rocked that room. So I just want to go back now and have Najeli join me here. I'm sorry, folks, technologically, I'm not sure. Do I need to stop sharing my screen? What do I need to do, Oscar? There we are. Okay. So Najeli.
Hi.
Hi. Oh my goodness. I'm so happy to have you here tonight. This is so exciting. Okay, so I have so many questions, but I want to start, before we jump into what you did with your GSA, I want to start by asking you, when you found out that you were in your classroom with Ms. Keller at I Preparatory Academy, then you were going to do this Zine program. Do you remember what your first impressions were?
Yes, I do. I was actually really excited to kind of break away from the computer. iPrep is known for basically being completely, if not almost, online.
That's right, it's paperless.
Yes, paperless, barely any textbooks, no notebooks, so completely online with the laptop provided to us.
Do you know what the virtue of teaching students with no textbooks is? Do you guys remember back a couple years ago when Moms for Liberty started getting really big? And the reason that Moms for Liberty was literally getting tens of millions of dollars of funding was the whole premise behind it was, we're going to elect the Moms for Liberty to school board and they're all going to save us. Conservatives thought, wrongly, that school boards decided on the textbook. Now, there are only 2 states in which that's true. It's Vermont and Connecticut. But no, let that not stop conservatives from wasting tens of millions of fucking dollars trying to get these women elected to school board so they could save us all from the textbooks they weren't even allowed to ban in the first place. This person went to a high school where they didn't use textbooks. Because if you don't use textbooks, you don't need approval for the content. You can just download shit off the internet and use videos and create your own woke worksheets. And there are whole websites that help teachers do this. You get rid of textbooks. You get rid of like the only thing that maybe conservatives thought they had a chance of monitoring. Can't even do that, right?
So it was fun to kind of break away from that and, do some hands-on activities.
Yeah. And how about the idea that you were going to do something in your classroom for credit and you got to decide what you were going to talk about?
That was also really awesome, considering we don't really, especially in English, a lot of it was already pre-planned for us. Some of the books that we were going to, get to read and all that. So it was nice to kind of take charge and be put into groups and with people that, we barely even spoke to. So she kind of mixed it up around too.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't like we get to just be with our friends. So we get to also work with new people, new individuals, new ideas, creativity, and all that.
Right. Did you feel like it had academic merit?
I do.
Yeah.
I do. It was nice. It was something that I didn't even expect to want to even continue to do after. So much so as even seek out an internship with you guys after.
Yes.
After going through the program.
Yes, that was great because you had the experience as a participant and now you were with me when students were coming to visit the museum for their year. So, that was
schools with you.
Okay. Yes. Okay, so that was that year that you interned was the 2017-18 school year. Why did you maybe you want to just very briefly, just 2 or 3 bullet points about what a GSA club is for in the public school system, and then why you decided to do zines with your club. So tell us the story. What happened?
So the previous year before I decided to basically build the ground up with the GSA and the sponsor, who was also Ms. Keller, the English teacher who also did the Zines for Progress program, which where I got the idea from, was previously there was just no GSA. Beforehand, the year before. So I decided to take initiative with Ms. Keller and a group of other individuals to basically build like a leadership board and bring that safe space back to our high school. Gay straight alliances, GSAs are known for that, offering that safe space for like-minded individuals and just kind of having that safe zone to just express yourself individually, no judgment, judgment-free zone. So it was, that was pretty much the idea behind that. And we wanted to basically bring a community service project along to the club as well to kind of keep the ball rolling, make it full circle, if you will. And the Zines progress, Zines for Progress was what just made sense, I guess, if you will. It's about, local and, like-minded individuals. It just made sense to do that.
Yeah. So I know the story because I was there, but let's tell people what your concept was and what you accomplished. So it looks like it might be a little too complicated to pull back up that slide that I had showing your zine and what you had at your table at the Miami Zine Fair. So that would have been April 2018. You had your own table. I had my Zines for Progress table, and then you had your iPrep GSA table down the way, and you were selling your zines. So tell us about that. Why you were selling them, what the response was from the public, what happened afterwards.
So we decided to actually sell the zines because, again, full circle with the community service-based project, we wanted to basically give back to the community itself. And what better than to donate the money to an LGBT organization? We decided to go with the Yes Institute of South Miami, which it's a non-for-profit that aids in suicide prevention and kind of like education and communication of gender expression and orientation and all that good stuff. So they actually hosted us in terms of providing the copy printer that we were able to make.
I remember that.
So it was, again, kind of the whole full circle idea of them, providing us the tools to make the zines with the GSA, and then furthermore, selling them at the fair and then donating the money back. And we raised over $150. So it was pretty exciting. We didn't think.
No small potatoes there.
So it was really exciting to do that. We split. So it was an option, of course. The students could have either provided their service through helping out the Zine Fair itself or being in a group and producing one. So we covered a lot of topics: Trump's America, veganism, LGBT musicians throughout the centuries, intersectional feminism.
Oh,
yeah.
Tell us the story about, I think you know the story I mean. That one was like, you told that at the throwdown at that presentation you made, which may have gained you the standing ovation, but I think the whole shebang did. But it's an amazing story, and it absolutely synthesizes the experience of zines. Tell us, I love this story.
So one of the zines that were produced was called Amarrando la Negra, which is in translation like tying down the Black female, or holding down kind of by society within deep-rooted colorism issues and racism in America, of course, and all around the world, but more specifically, that zine highlighted what it was to be an Afro-Latina, and here in Miami specifically. And there was a mom and a little girl, I want to say roughly like around 8 or 9, walking down like the pathway that we were located at. And she just got so excited. And I remember her, like, this joy just like lit up on her face as she saw the zine itself. More specifically, there was a picture of, her name is Amara. She's like a pop star kind of deal here in Miami. And she basically felt that she saw her in that zine, and she wanted to immediately buy it. And that just solidified the whole idea of zines, being able to see yourself instead of relying on mainstream media, to give you that voice. And I feel like it's more intimate that way.
Yeah, exactly, which is the point of zines, really. Let's get Christina to join us here. Let's get into a three-way conversation here.
Yeah, let's
get into Christina, welcome back.
Thank you.
Okay, I won't hog the mic, but I have lots of questions. So, one thing I forgot to mention, everybody, I don't know if you remember at the beginning of my slide deck, the zigzag zine that we saw, Human Footprint. that won Best Green Zine Prize at the Miami Zine Fair of 2017. And it is now in Christina's collection at the University of Miami.
And I was one of the judges. So.
I was so excited. And those kids won $100. So somebody gave me $100 cash. And when I went, that was from Dr. Michael Kropp. And when I went back up to the classroom, I said, hey kids, guess what? That was really amazing. Yeah.
And if I can share, we use our zines for teaching a lot, certainly pre-COVID, but even we kind of pivoted and taught a lot of online classes. It's not the same thing. But when we teach a class here in Special Collections, we lay stuff out and people can touch the things. They can leaf through them. So that zine really was very popular. It just struck a chord with our students.
Interesting. Yeah.
This is part of like one of the things the left does that this is the reason I started the Center for Left-Wing Studies. It wasn't just an own the libs moment, although it kind of is an own the libs moment because it's modeled after the Center for Right-Wing Studies at the University of California, Berkeley. But like, honestly, the left archives everything. The left creates archives and libraries about everything. They do education about everything. There is no one on our side creating archives. There's no one on our side creating libraries. There's no one on our side documenting this information. There's no one on our side analyzing this information. This is what the left does all the time, and they've done it for decades and decades and decades and decades and decades. And there is fuck off no one on our side doing this except for me and except for us.
Done.
What was I going to ask you? And Nigeli, if you have questions for Christina too, please just jump right in. I was really curious, Christina, when you were talking about in particular, that super underground gay zine from Jamaica. I mean, this is dicey territory. Like these people aren't signing these zines. And so how does a special collection like yours, how does a zine like that get out of Jamaica and end up in your library?
Well, it was a zine from 1980. But yeah, there are privacy issues regards to zines, but they've been distributed. So we're assuming people did want to speak. So we find them sometimes through gifts. We get a lot of zines as gifts. But I do go through channels of working with certain dealers. I will say
zine
there
dealers.
Are some really fabulous, very committed.
These people have entire fucking zine dealers, just like an antique book dealer.
Dealers in San Francisco who have a place in the Mission area who specialize in countercultural literature.
Oh yeah, I'll have to visit
Bolerium,
them.
And I need to make a pitch because they are.
What is it called?
Who have a place in the Mission area who specialize in countercultural literature. They're called Bolerium.
Bolerium. Hang on, please. Bolerium. Oh. It's a bookstore. It's a fucking bookstore. It's a radical revolutionary bookstore. It's a bookstore. It's a bookstore that when I definitely don't go to San Francisco in about a month. I'm definitely not going to this bookstore when I definitely am not going to San Francisco in about a month. Bruh. Always ahead of us. Always. Every time.
And I need to make a pitch because they are truly idealistic. And so they have not tried to profit a lot, even from the rarest zines. And that zine from Jamaica is very rare. And it's very important for people to see, just like it was an act of bravery publishing.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Yeah, that was kind of more where my question was coming from, not in terms of like violating, intellectual property, but just it's so strangely delicate and vulnerable and powerful at the same time. The courage, you know, and the determination that goes into something like that.
You know, a lot of people, when they think of special collections, think of conventional rare books, and we do have that. But I always say these are rare. And 100 years from now, they're going to be even more rare. And the zines that you're publishing, Majelli, and all the work you've done, Zoe, they need to be in collections so that people can look at them, study them, learn about this time period. Absolutely. And I always argue that zines, there is a strain now, finally, of academic study called punkademia. And I'm all for it because we paid a lot of attention to the 60s, lots and lots and lots of attention to the 60s.
Punkademia. Oh, yeah? Oh my fucking God. They have their own journal. They have their own journal. Wow.
For it because we paid a lot of attention to the 60s, lots and lots and lots of attention to the 60s. And I feel like, okay, the 70s and the 80s were also really interesting, and a lot was percolating and a lot was happening. It just was never quite as acknowledged, possibly for a long time because a lot of these movements were led by women. And so there's just that natural, like, it's not as important because the ladies were doing it. So
right.
That's my opinion.
Right. I know that we have a question in the chat. Christina, tell us more about the multiple personality zine.
Oh, that is a fascinating zine. That is by a person, Rogan Lee, who's narrating his, he transitioned female to male, but also has multiple personality disorder. And he writes very candidly about
For people who don't know, I'm getting disheveled. For people who don't know, last year, I went undercover at a workshop at the University of Colorado where here it is. Where I literally watched a presentation about, oh, you guys can't see this. I literally watched a presentation at the University of Colorado in person about how multiple personality disorder is a gender identity. And in this trip, I also got possessed by a demon in this presentation, and there was something weird that happened to me, and I've talked about it publicly. I literally got possessed by something in this presentation. When I was sitting there, something attached itself to me in the most bizarre experience of my life. And I understand I sound crazy saying that, but it happened because multiple personality disorder. I was in a room with people who had multiple personality disorder and didn't know it. And I am convinced, I'm absolutely convinced, and you can call me crazy if you want, but what this person was experiencing was some sort of demonic thing. I really do believe that because whatever this person was experiencing attached itself to me. And I was tweaking for hours after that, and I had to have an exorcism in downtown Boulder. Luckily, I was infiltrating this event with a witch. I brought a witch to go undercover with me. And so I had help. But this whole thing of like multiple personality disorder, that is very triggering for me. Oh, we have to find that fucking zine. What's it called?
that, Christina, tell us more about the multiple personality zine.
The multiple personality zine, okay. Yeah, okay. Yeah, obviously I wasn't paying close attention. I wasn't paying close attention, okay? I've had a long fucking day. I cannot fucking stand. Thank you, Reagan. I cannot fucking stand that we are losing to these people. I cannot stand it. Thank you, bot.
Oh, that is a fascinating zine. That is by a person, Rogan Lee, who's narrating his, he transitioned female to male, but also has multiple personality disorder. And he writes very candidly about that and humorously. And there's some great stories. One is a story called Marrying Man, where two of the personalities marry one another.
Oh, wow.
That's not something you read about or see very often. And it's done with grace and humor. And what I like about zines is that people just, they literally give so much of themselves, including the drawings. So there are often these kind of rough, in the case of Green Zine, that person is an artist and is a very good artist. But these other little, stories told with stick figures, etc. There's a real, it's outsider art that we want to get out there,
right,
to be acknowledged.
Well, and outsider art is also becoming insider art and collected in the same way that, I mean, you were talking about certain zines now going for $1,000. And I think there's sort of something interesting that goes on too, because while zines to a certain degree can be co-opted commercially like anything else, I mean, look at that Vogue cover.
Yeah.
There's still a very strong resistance element to zines because they are made by individuals on the ground, and you can't fake that. Somebody can't pretend to be Nigeli. Only Nigeli can be Nigeli.
No. So when you do see Vogue co-opting that whole look, in a way you think, well, it has arrived, but that certainly Vogue does not embody the spirit of zines. Not by far.
Yeah. Let me see if there's any more questions here. Somebody said, search your shoeboxes.
Yeah.
They located a few zines they inherited from the estate of a friend from South Beach circa 1990.
Well, special collections at the University of Miami were always interested in local zines. And by local, we mean our beautiful tropical worlds, our Caribbean, our many diasporas here in Miami. So we're documenting all of it.
Yeah. I remember, when I go into the classrooms, I talk about what local knowledge, I just put it up, I say local knowledge, what do you think that is? And kids will, eventually they understand what it means, and insider knowledge. So that what I was saying earlier, only Nigeli can be Nigeli. So Nigeli, I know you told us that you're still working on zines to this day. Yeah. Do you want to tell us anything about topics you're interested in addressing these days?
Well, right now with everything that's going on, recently, presidential election, to name a few, Black Lives Matter, continuously protesting that, and just Black lives, and LGBT, of course. Now it's Pride Month. This month I'm actually more focused on something that I have going on, separated from zines.
Ooh. Wow, it sounds like both you and Christina have something I want to drag out of you.
I think there was another question as well too in the chat, if I'm not mistaken.
Let's see. Does the Wolfsonian have a collection of zines? Have you been acquiring student projects over the years? The zines that are produced for Zines for Progress are returned to the students. So once I go to the Miami Zine Fair every year and share them, just for people to look at, I go back to the classrooms and return the zines to the kids. And then we do a debrief. We kind of do this. We have a big conversation about the experience. So we've got a bit of what's called in pedagogy and metacognition. So they start to reflect on what the experience is, and that's where the learning lands. And then we get also feedback about the program itself. And I always rejig and restructure as I go along based on that feedback. So we don't have a collection per se. The zine we produced this year, we are going to keep some in our archives. will receive one. And I don't know, I've always been kind of fingers crossed. Maybe they'll get so incredibly popular that we could do a rerun. We could run another set off and actually sell them, not for profit, but just so that people can, because the artwork is absolutely fantastic and it is history. This is local history and world history.
And if I could give a little bit of feedback, anyone working on a zine, and you could all do it, it's really simple. Write the date on it, because that is one continuum of zines, is we never know what date there are, and often what city they're from, because people just, they remained anonymous. So I understand that. You can use a pseudonym to be anonymous, but it doesn't hurt to write the date and the place, because it'll help as libraries and other places collect zines. It really helps us situate it.
That is such a great piece of advice. I found a poem I wrote, and I had yesterday, it's like, I don't even remember writing this thing. And the only reason I could figure out when it was written was because it was in my Google Drive and it had the year on it. Hang on, somebody else is asking us, when is the next Miami Zine Fair? Good question. So it normally takes place in the month of April, and it's hosted by Exile Books, but it's a massive affair. And the last 2 years, was it the last 2 years that it was physical? Yes, it was at the Little Haiti Cultural Complex. So I don't know what plans are. Last year it was canceled at the last minute, or hang on a minute, sorry, 2020. This year it didn't happen either. So I don't know. I mean, I would imagine by 2022, things will be back to normal enough that the Miami Zine Fair will be back up and running. But Exile Books is a place you can visit. It's in Little Haiti on Northwest 2nd. And there's also Dale Zine. They just reopened downtown. You have to look up where they are now. I'm not in the city anymore.
There's
Dale
a
Zine is another great
Miami.
place. Before I left Miami, I went down to Dale and bought a bunch of zines that were made locally. They were my mementos. I'm leaving Miami and I want to have a bit of Miami with me. So I went and bought some zines. Let me see, what else have we got here? I realize we're going just a wee bit over. Representation is important. Yes.
Well, zines they represent, to me,
Someone
more than most other print media.
Would someone please explain the QIA plus of the LGBTQIA plus?
Well, the Q is queer, I intersectional. Hang on a second, where are we here? Intersectional, asexual. There's a 2 for two-spirited, and plus is the accounting for the intersectional identities, the way that we are many identity. Exactly. Yeah.
Some even argue the A can also stand for ally as well.
1,700 people went to the Miami Zine Fair this year in Ron DeSantis's anti-woke Florida. Okay.
There you go. The GSA club, the Gay Straight Alliance at Miami Beach Senior High, they called it the Gender and Sexuality Alliance instead. They didn't want to call it the Gay Straight. They felt that was too confining. Yeah. They felt it was just too confining for what they were up to. And so they called it the Gender and Sexuality Alliance.
You don't say.
Which again is very much in the spirit of zines. It's like we make our own definitions.
There was another question as well. I think there was the last one.
Oh, yeah? I always ignore the chat panel. I'm in meetings and people are like having whole other things going on, networking on the side. And
thank you.
Actually, it's on the Q&A.
Oh, I'm looking at the chat, for goodness sake.
Yeah.
What is the most...
So Master Shake just sent this article about oral history. I was actually literally just thinking about this the other day. I've been finding oral history projects at all these universities through all these gender studies departments that I've been cataloging gender studies departments to try to monitor them in real time. And I'm finding all these fucking oral history projects. Master Shake just sent me. I'll show you guys. Oral history is another thing we need to look into, because oral history, we still need to listen to Emmy O'Brien's oral history. Don't think I've forgotten about that. Like, oral history is another thing that queer Marxists do. And they're doing it at universities all over the fucking country. Oral history is just they interview people and they ask them about their stories, but like they're actually cataloging this stuff and archiving this stuff. And our side does none of this. Our side does none of this. Our side complains and our side tweets, and that's it.
Challenging part of creating and or promoting your zines? There's a good question.
I can take that one.
Yeah, go ahead.
I would say possibly the most like challenging part of, you know, making the zines at the time was probably getting someone to kind of provide financially in a way, you know, and that's where the Yes Institute kind of came in with that, and, you know, helping providing the the copying machine for us. And another like promoting was a big thing. And you would think it'd be easy for a tech savvy school like iPrep and, you know, just like easy kind of like Instagram or social media posts. But at the time there was, a lot of the students, you know, weren't as supportive for the GSA. So it was kind of hard to kind of get that word out in the school at least. So we actually saw a lot of support from outside more than inside. But I felt like alone, just the project itself did bring a lot of awareness, and other activities that we did with the club throughout the year kind of, I guess, you know, touched the soul of some of the other students and kind of made iPrep in general a safe space rather just than the GSA. So towards the end, it was, you know, more positive than anything.
Right, right. I guess you don't really have that problem for special collections. It's not quite the same. I mean, a lot of zine makers on Instagram, that's a pretty great way to connect. And what I found interesting about this last year, I was Zooming to zine fairs all over North America. It was amazing. It was completely amazing. I would never have had the means and the time to be able to do that otherwise. And it was absolutely incredible. And some were, I mean, literally some people, it was like they were at a physical space, so they just had a table. They were tabling on Zoom, you know, and then they'd be like holding up their zine to the camera. And then other people who had very sophisticated ways of using the screen to share digitally what they'd made materially. And it's a very generous community. It's very open and safe. It's just like the atmosphere at the Miami Zine Fair is like very few other spaces I've been in where you can have that many people in one room and not have a whiff of violence at all or aggression.
Now, and you know, zines in the past didn't have, before the internet, those days, but there were lots and lots of zines. There were compendiums. So you would buy something called Fact Sheet 5, which is this densely printed list of zines from the US, but also other parts of the world. And people would find out about you and have a contact information. And I remember I was a zinester, and I would get, you know, these beautiful mystery envelopes with great stamps from the Ukraine.
Yeah.
At that time it was Russia. Or, you know, from Kenya once saying, you know, I'll send you my zine, can you send me yours?
Cool.
There was always that spirit of sharing and hearing about, you know, maybe there could be a zine about the musician Nick Cave somewhere in Sitka, Alaska, and then also in Rome, Italy, and those, you know, it was great to compare them.
Yeah, well, I notice we are pretty much 10 minutes over, and I don't want to take advantage of people's evenings. Any last words or thoughts, or from the audience, any last comments or questions before we
make a zine?
Bid farewell. I know.
Zine.
I have a whole
Running
bunch of
down
little
magazine.
maquettes all over the table just behind my computer. Yeah. Well, I'll be down in Miami soon enough. And Nigeli, I'll come and look at what you're making and I'll come visit you. Maybe I'll bring my
Sounds
zines
good.
along with me.
Sounds good. I look forward to it.
And I want to thank the Wilsonian. I'm so proud to be able to work for an institution that really put its heart and soul behind a program like this. It's been so important for young people to discover their agency.
Okay, that's basically it. That's it. That's it. That's it. We're done. Thank you guys for coming to Socialism Saturday. Thank you for putting up my crackly microphone. Hopefully the problem will be fixed tomorrow as soon as I restart my browser. But you know what? Tomorrow we are going undercover again. Tomorrow we are doing another spy stream. Tomorrow we are doing day 2 of the Revolutionary Socialist Conference. So make sure you're subscribed to my Substack. That is Karlyn, KARLYN.substack.com. And tomorrow morning around 10:30 in the morning, maybe 11, depending on when I wake up, I will be sending out the link to day 2 of the Revolutionary Socialist Conference spy stream. This is open to supporters on my Substack. This is open to supporters on my YouTube channel, who are channel members. This is open to subscribers on my Twitter. This is open to supporters on my locals and my Patreon. But Substack is my preferred method. It was an amazing day, day 1. You still have time to make it for day 2. Sign up on the Substack, support my work, $8 a month, $80 a year, and I will show you things that, like, literally no one else on the internet is showing you. And I'm going to go make a burrito now. I'm going to go make a burrito with some seasoned beef with some taco seasoning. And I'm going to do some habanero cheese. Yeah, I'm going to sleep good tonight. I'm going to get up early tomorrow. I'm going to do some habanero cheese. I'm going to do some yellow rice. I'm going to do some beef that's seasoned with taco seasoning. And I'm going to make the best burrito ever. Because I've barely eaten today. Because I was streaming socialism all day long. And I deserve a really good fucking burrito. Okay? So I'm going to go make that. And I'm chilling out for the rest of the night. And I'll see you guys bright and early tomorrow for Spy Stream. Take care, guys. We'll see you soon. Bye.
How are you feeling? How long have you been here?
3 months, May 17th.
And what brought you?
That's difficult to answer.
Would you give me some idea?
I am not completely like other people.
What do you mean by that?
People dislike me because I am not completely like them. that influence my thinking and consequently my action.
What is it you're trying to do with your life?
Play the piano for people.
I'm not clear. How is it that playing the piano for people has eventually resulted in your being here in the hospital?
That's difficult to answer.